In peace of the Father named Yahshua, let us come for another Sabbath, another chance to hear His word, another chance to lay it up in your heart, another chance to turn away from sin, so that you can be counted worthy and enter His rest like we dealt with last week. But today we're going to deal with what we got to do to enter into His rest, and that is take up your cross and deny yourself and suffer in the flesh, that you may cease from sin. Because it's what we got to really start dealing with and focusing on. We do regularly, but now we're really going to delve into it a little bit more in depth. Taking up your cross. Because what does it mean to take up your cross? You know what I'm saying? To take up your cross means to take up your burden. His burden was to come to die for the sins of the people. So you got to kill yourself. With that being said, you have to do this patiently enduring. Because we're going to deal with something that people like to say, oh, we got to die daily. But all that just meaning is you're taking up your cross daily, like the Master said, and denying yourself. Resisting temptation, that you can receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to all those that love Him. Well, let's go to Deuteronomy 32, and about verse 47. Let's go there. Let's do it. There's something that the Most High want to say to you, so you can understand it, and you can hear it and believe it. Because you got to suffer in the flesh to cease from sin. And why do you got to suffer in the flesh to cease from sin? Listen to what the book says. Deuteronomy 32 and 47 says, "For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life. And through this thing ye shall prolong your days in the land, whether ye go over Jordan to possess it." So this is not a worthless thing for you to take up your cross and deny yourself. This is your life. This is how you should gain eternal life. This is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. You know what I'm saying? It's not a vain thing. Keep that in mind. Let's look at Deuteronomy 30 and 19. Let's see what it says right there. We'll wait on that. Let's go to Hebrews 12 and 1. Hebrews 12 and 1. Let's see what it got to say. Keep these things in mind. Let these things sink off into your mind and lay them up in your heart. Because these are things that are going to allow you to receive salvation, to enter into the rest that we dealt with last week. He said, "Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great cloud of witnesses," he said, "let us lay aside every weight." So whatever it is that we're holding, that's holding us back, holding us down, put it down. "And the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us." So he said, put aside the weight and the sin which can easily set you back. And let's run this race, that we can enter into everlasting life. Verse 2, this is what it says. This is what he said now. "Look unto Yahshua, the author and finisher of our faith." So he said, look unto the man who wrote our faith and finished it. So while we're doing what we're doing, so while we're enduring, while we're denying, while we're suffering persecution, whatever it may be, let's look unto this man. He said, "For who the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God." So for the joy of everlasting life and to be able to redeem his brethren, it said he did what? He endured the cross. He endured and suffered. He endured the temptations. He resisted and suffered in the flesh. He despised the shame. He had no problem with people calling him names, spitting on him, trying to kill him, disrespecting him, people separating him from their continent. And that from that, he was set down at the right hand of the throne of God. And what he say right here, when he say he sat down at the throne of God, this man say right here that him that overcome will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. Because this really is tying back to overcoming the world. This man say he sat down at the right hand of the throne of God for despising the shame and enduring the cross. He said if you do the same thing, he'll give you the same thing. Because he overcame, you overcome, you're going to get the same reward. He said, listen to verse 3 now, "For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be weary and faint in your mind." So this man did this here for people who were contrary to him. This man was perfect. He died for everybody. The saint, the sinner, the people who liked him, the people who didn't like him, the people who tried to kill him, the people who tried to save him. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to remember, they can't get him. Peter pulled out his sword, cut the dude off. Like, well, we ready to bump by this. You know what I'm saying? But the master had to tell the man, chill out, man, how the scripture's going to be fulfilled. This got to go around. And listen to verse 4, because these days are coming. He said, "You have not yet resisted under blood, striving against sin." You ain't shed no blood not to sin yet. So just remember that this man shed blood not to sin. Those days are coming for us that we're going to have to shed blood not to sin. But you haven't came to that point yet. You need to remember that and keep that in your mind, lest you faint and you're ready to give up. Because you haven't done that yet. Look at 1 Corinthians 9 and 25. So you got to remember, we're running a race. And you got to be patient in this race. This race here don't go to the swift. 1 Corinthians 9 and 25, it says, and every man that strives for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now we know that one of the fruits of the Spirit is self-control, which is temperance. So he's saying when you striving for mastery, that means you got self-control in all things. You can control yourself in all things because you're trying to master your body. Now they that do it obtain a corruptible crown, but we are incorruptible. So through us doing this, we get that incorruptible crown, that crown of life, that crown of righteousness that the Lord has prepared for all those that love him. He said, I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, but not as one that beat the air. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means when I have preached to others, I myself should be a captive. I'm sorry, look at verse 24. He said, know ye not that they which run in the race run all, but one receives the prize, so run that you may obtain. He already said that, you know what I'm saying, in Hebrews 12, put aside every weight, with every sin, and run with patience the race that's set before us. So this is what we're doing, is to receive this incorruptible crown. And to keep your body under subjection is to obey the word. Let the word come in and let the word bring your members under subjection so you sin not. Let's look at Galatians 5 and 7. Galatians 5 and 7. Now this is dealing with something about around Passover time, but we're not around Passover time. So listen to what it says. He said he did run well. So if you've been walking in the way so you could be saved, he said, who did hinder you that you should not obey the truth? So he said, who holding you back that you shouldn't obey the truth? He said, this persuasion come not of him that called you. So if you're being persuaded to do something contrary to the word, guess who that is? That is Satan. Because it's your name, the Lord is your name, the Father. Y'all know y'all sure going to tell you to go contrary to the word. He said, a little leaven, leaving the whole lump. Leaven symbolizing sin. He said, just a little bit of sin, leaving the whole lump. Let's go back to when James say, if you commit one sin, you break one law, you're guilty of them all. That's why you got to have the word written upon your heart, and you won't sin at all. You got to be born of God, you won't sin at all. But let's look at Matthew 11 and 28, and now we're going to get into the crux of it now. Matthew 11 and 28. Matthew 11 and 28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So he said, if you've been working, you're hard heavy. He said, if you come unto him, he'll give you rest. He's talking about rest for your soul. Have that rest to enter into the land like we dealt last week. He said, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. So he said, take his yoke upon you. Take his burden upon you, meaning take his authority upon your neck and learn of him. Learn the book so you can do what he do. He said, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your soul. So he like said, he said he meek and he lowly. He don't lift himself up over his brethren. He humbled himself to the obedience of the word. What you gonna hear? Humble himself even unto death, even unto the cross. Humble yourself to your Father in heaven so that you can be saved. And what he telling you? He said, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. He already told you my commandments are not grievous. Just a light thing you got to deal with. He said, pain may endure for a night, but joy come in the morning. It's a little bit of suffering, but it's all good. It work out well in the end. Now let's look at Matthew 5:26. Matthew 5:26. Look at verse 41. This is what he said now. He said, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Now, I know I done came in a little early on it, but it's all good. We'll wait and come back. I did come a little early on and what we want to do. But just keep that in your mind. He said, your spirit is willing. This flesh is weak. So you got to have something to put that flesh to the side. And that is to put on the Lord, put on the word. But we're going to deal with that more in depth in a second. Look at John the 8th chapter, in about the 31st verse. What the master said. Then said Yahshua to those Jews which believed on him, if you continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So we know the truth is what? The word. And the word, and what is truth? It's the law. And he said he's the way, the truth, and the life. Because you know, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word manifested itself in the flesh and dwelt among men to bring salvation unto men. You know what I'm talking about? So he say, if you continue in the Word, you continue in the Word of holiness, the Word of salvation, the Word of the Most High God, it'll set you free. What's going to set you free from? Look at verse 33. He said, then answered him, we be Abraham's seed, we've never been in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free? Yahshua answered them, truly, truly, I say unto you, whosoever commits sin is the servant of sin. So if you commit sin, you're in bondage. You're in bondage to sin, which means you're in bondage to the flesh, which means you're in bondage to the devil. This is what he say though. And the servant abide not in the house forever, but the son abide forever. So if you commit sin, you can't enter into the house, which we dealt with last week. That's why we got to put it off, because you can't get in. He say, but if the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. So if the Spirit of the Lord shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. Matter of fact, let's find that. And I'll say 1 Corinthians. Go to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians, I want to say chapter 3. Yes, it is. Chapter 3, about verse 17. You understand? This is why we have to obtain the Holy Ghost. This is why we got to obtain the Spirit, because this will set us free. 2 Corinthians 3 and 17 says, now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, wherever the Word resides and dwells, there is liberty. And that liberty is freedom from sin. Because now you're going to do as the Master did, and you're going to suffer. So let's look at Psalms 50 and 5. And let's see what they say. Because see, there's something come along with that. Because I know y'all know what the Master did when he came here in the flesh. What did he do? He was a sacrifice unto the people. So let's see what he said. Psalms 50 and 5 says, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Now we know the new covenant is a law written in your heart and in your inward parts. This man say, gather my saints together so they can enter into my sanctuary, so they can enter into my rest, that they have made a contract and agreement with me by sacrifice. They deny themselves. Look at Romans 12 and 1. Look at Romans 12 and 1. He's going to tell you the same thing. Listen to what he said. Romans 12 and 1. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. So he said you got to present your body, your natural self, as a living sacrifice. Holy, set apart, acceptable, without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. Because we know from the law, any sacrifices that have blemishes or evil favoredness is an abomination under y'all. He don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Now, if our bodies are the living sacrifice, and how Peter said, now you are built up on a spiritual house, making spiritual sacrifices unto God that are acceptable, that means that you have to walk accordingly so that when you offer up your incense or your prayer, that they are acceptable because you offer yourself as a living sacrifice. And we're going to hear about that in a moment. Which is your reasonable service. This is your reasonable service, to deny yourself and to present your body a living sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing above and beyond the call of duty. You don't get a pat on your back for doing what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't let this world conform you to its wicked and evil ways, but be renewed in your mind by this word, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable, perfect will of God. Because by presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, you show forth that perfect and acceptable will of the Most High through your actions. They see that's the Father's will right there. That's why His Son Yahshua right there. See that's one of His kids. That's why they operate in that fashion. Look at Psalm 4 and about verse 4. Listen to what he says. Psalm 4 and 4 says, well, back in verse 3, he says, but I know that Yah has set apart him that is godly for himself. Yah will hear when I call unto him. So we know it says the Father has set apart those that are holy unto himself. So you read about that, about setting yourself apart by that sacrifice. That's why he said, gather my saints together who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. You don't set them apart for myself, they're mine. He say, stand in awe and sin not. So he say, stand in the awesomeness and power of the Most High God and don't commit no sin. Fear God and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still, said Allah. So he say, think upon you in your own heart, in your own mind, on your bed and be still about what you need to do to deliver your soul. Verse 5 says, offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in Yah. So offer that sacrifice of righteousness. Offer that sacrifice of faith. Do what's right in the sight of God so you can enter into His rest. Ephesians 5:1. Because all these things that we read about, the master did the same thing. We got to have the same mind in us that he had, and he had a mind to obey the word. He said, be ye therefore followers of God as dear children, and walk in love. And what is love? You've heard this from the beginning, and this is love, that we keep his commandments. As the Messiah also loved us, and what the Master said, greater love hath no man than this, that he lay his life down for his friends. So the same way the Master obeyed the Father's word, he said, I dwelt in my Father's commandments and dwelt in his love. Is if you abide by my commandments and dwell in my love, then you shall be my friends. You're going to get the same thing. That's why he say, he that overcome, I'm going to sit you down in my throne like I'm sat down in my Father's throne. And have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savor. So anytime that we do that, you know, well, we ain't dealt with it with most of y'all, but you know from when you're making them sacrifices, he said he taking the smell. You know what I'm saying? I smell that there. That's acceptable right there. That's a good ox. You know what I'm saying? That's a good lamb. That's a good bullet. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing when the Master did it. It was the same thing. You know, he was the wave offering, the heat offering, but that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother time. You know what I'm talking about? So when you walk around here holy and acceptable out, using your body as a living sacrifice, then the Father takes that sweet smelling savor and like, you know how it is when you somebody cooking and it smells good to you. You know what I'm talking about? That look you have on your face, you have it all the time. You know what I'm talking about? Straight up, like this here. Smell good. Be like, Lil Ron, I smell something. You know what I'm saying? He said, but fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know that no whoremonger, no unclean person, no covetous man who is an idolater have any inheritance in the kingdom of the Messiah and of God. So we let you know that if you going to do as the Master said, don't let fornication be named among you. He said, don't let uncleanliness or covetousness, and we know what uncleanliness is, things that defile a man. You go back to Mark 7, you know, we done dealt with it plenty of times. Put these things away from you. Deny these things, and so these things won't be named among you, so the Father can accept you. Let's look at, now we can look at James 4:1. Now we just heard the Master said the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And truly it is, because you have a lot of people, we're going to deal with it when Paul dealt with it in the letter to the Romans. You know what I'm talking about? Because the spirit, the person that dwells inside you, he want to do what God said. You know what I'm talking about? But that outward man, that fleshly man, he want to do what he want to do. You know what I'm talking about? So now that's where you got that conflict coming in there, and somebody's got to die. You know what I'm talking about? You got to kill somebody. What you going to kill him with? You're going to kill him with the word. But look at James 4. He say, from whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lust that war in your members? So he say, those wars and fightings that come amongst you, they come from your members, from your eyes, from your ears. You know what I'm saying? The fleshly outside things. He said, you lust and you have not. He said, you desire things, but you don't get it. He said, you kill and desire to have, and you cannot obtain. You fight in war, yet you have not, because you ask not. He said, you ask and receive not, because you ask amiss, that you may consume it upon your lust. So he said, you asking the Father for these things, but he don't get it to you, because you're asking it for the wrong reason. You asking for it to consume it upon your desires, and he's not going to do that for you. He said, you adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whoso therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. Now we just heard this man say, don't be conformed to the world. That's why he told you that. If you're a friend of the world, you're an enemy of God. We know what John said in his letter, the whole world lies what? Wickedness. So if you're a friend of the world, you're a friend of wickedness. And if you're a friend of wickedness, you're a servant of sin. You commit sin. If you commit sin, you're a servant of sin. How you going to have liberty? How you going to be free from it? How you going to live forever? It's impossible. You know what I'm talking about? Because you're going to be dictated by the lust of your members, and you're going to commit sin. You see, but listen to what he's saying. Do you think the scripture saith in vain that the Spirit dwell in us? That dwell in us lust and envy, but he give more grace. Wherefore he saith, God resist the proud, but give grace unto the humble. So those that won't humble themselves in the word, Most High resist you, cast you away. But he give grace, he give gifts, he give mercy to those that humble themselves, as James said in the first chapter of this letter. Receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your soul. Receive it with humility of heart and mind, to humble yourself, take that yoke on. Learning of the master, so that you can be saved. He says, submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. That's your favorite picture, kick him right in his mouth. If you go back and look at Matthew 4, when Satan came to tempt the master, what did the master do? He resisted him. How did he resist him? He hit him with the word. You resist the devil, he will get away from you. If you put on the full armor of God, which we're going to hear about, and you stand on that rock, you stand on Yahshua, that man will get away from you, guaranteed. He said, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. This is what he said. Cleanse your hands. How did a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed according to thy word. He said, ye sinners, and purify your hearts. Cleanse your hearts with the word, so that you can make this covenant by sacrifice, that the word may dwell in you and you dwell in the word. Ye double-minded, because you know what it is to be double-minded. We're going to deal with that. There being double-minded is a horrible state. It's a horrible state to be in, a state that no man wants to be in. Look at Galatians 5 and 16. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Look at Luke 9 and 23. I'm in the wrong place. You got stuff all over the place. There's just a lot of information in this stuff. And it might seem like it's going to roll slow, but it's a conclusion to the matter. Y'all just hold on. Listen to what the master say now. Now we dealt with these things here. Let's get to the whole crux of the matter of what we're dealing with this evening. It says here in Luke 9 and 23, he said, if any man will come after me, because this man said you got to take his yoke upon you and learn him. He said, if you're going to come after him, let him deny himself. That means you're going to have to resist. You're going to have to abstain. Listen to what he say now. And take up his cross daily and follow me. Did you hear what he said? Take up your cross daily. Not Monday and Tuesday, then I'm going to go sin Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then get back on the Saturday, and maybe on Sunday I could be good, I could be evil. That man say, every single day deny yourself. He say, take up your cross, take up your torture stake, take up your tree, put yourself on it. What the Lord say? He crucified, he said, I've been nailed to the tree. That's what she's talking about. I done killed myself. I'm not going to go do that. I'm going to deny myself. I'm going to take my cross up daily. Listen to what he say now. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. You want to keep doing what you're going to do? You're going to go to hell. That's what he's telling you. If you seek to save your life, if you seek to continue to do what you want to do in the fashion you want to do it, you're going to lose your life and you're going to taste that second death. He said, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. So whosoever going to abstain and give up what he want to do for the master's sake, for the gospel's sake, for the Father's will, he going to save his life alive. He going to live forever and dwell in that holy Mount Zion that we dealt with last week. He said, for what is a man's advantage if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away? So what you going to gain, you get everything you want. The man already told you if you're a friend of the world, you're an enemy of God. What you going to get out of the deal? You're going to get short-term gratification and long-term damnation. He says, so whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels. So if you're mad at what this man say now, that man going to be ashamed of you when he get here. Man, kill him. You ain't want to roll with me before I got here. Don't try to run up on me now talking about you sorry. Have some mercy on me. Kill him. I don't know this nigga anyway. You know what I'm talking about? What did he say? Depart from me, you work of iniquity. I don't know you. I don't know from where you came. Get on from around here. Take him on up out of here. He said, but I tell you the truth, there shall be some standing here which shall not taste death until they see the kingdom of God. Because these people ain't tasted death. It's people who was here with that man when he stood and they be like, what, he dead right now? But the Bible calls death a state of sleep. And people ain't tasting no death because they're not going in the lake where the worm dies not and the fire shall not be quenched. They're going to dwell forever in everlasting peace and righteousness in the holy Mount Zion. Look at 1 Peter 4 and 1. And let's go ahead and roll. Now we're going to go ahead and roll and start getting into the root of the mouth. Listen to what he's saying in 1 Peter 4 and 1. It says, for as much as the Messiah has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. Same way this man denied himself and took up his cross and suffered in the flesh so that we can live like we just heard Paul write in Ephesians, that he offered himself as a sacrifice to God, as a sweet-smelling savor. He said, arm yourself with the same mind now. He said, you ain't no different. The man said the disciple is not above his master, and everyone that is perfect shall be as his master. That's what the Lord said. That's what Yahshua said. So he said, let that same mind be in you. Listen to what he say now. For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. He that denied himself of his flesh, you will not transgress God's law. He said that he no longer shall live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of God. So now that you in this flesh, you're not living into the lust of what other people want to do, or what your members trying to tempt you to do. You're going to live to the will of God, which is to what? Be ye holy, for I am holy. That's what the whole root of the matter is. He said, for the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentile. Just like this here. These people getting ready to the service this goddamn idolatrous holiday called Christmas, Saturnalia, the birthday of Nimrod, whatever you want to call it. There was a time when we did the will of the Gentile and we celebrated such abominable customs. There was a time when we did the things that these people did, but now that the truth done came, we got to know we no longer going to live our lives to the lust of these people and the lust of our flesh. We're going to put these things down. He said, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revilings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries, because we know we done lost in the lust. Who that girl find? I like that nigga. I want to holler at him. This, that, there, and the other. We done been there. You done dealt with your lust. I want this. I want that. I want to do this. I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Sit around and just eat. You know what I'm saying? Being gluttonous, whether it was Easter or Christmas or Thanksgiving or New Year, we done did all these things before. But now there's no excuse to continue on. He said, but listen to what he said, where they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you. So now people think something wrong with you. This is what it meant when the master said he despised the shame and endured the cross. Matter of fact, look at Hebrews 13 and 21. Listen to what the man said. This is 13 and 21. No, it's 13 and 10. Listen to what he said right here. Matter of fact, verse 8, listen to what it says. It says, Yahshua the Messiah, the same yesterday, today, and forever. The Master was the same when he dwelt in heaven with the Father, and he was the Word, and he was the one who was giving us the lively oracles in the wilderness. He was the same when he came down here in the flesh. He the same sitting at the right hand of the Father, and he going to be the same when he get back here. He said, be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrines. Don't be carried about with strange and diverse teachings that will lead you to sin and you die. You say, for it's a good thing that the heart may be established with grace, not with meats, which have not profited them that have been occupied therein. Because you know what I'm saying, everybody getting ready to go have a Christmas dinner, and, you know, let's make this New Year's dinner with this black-eyed peas and greens for money and all this old food. That man said, don't be caught up in none of that. But the key reason why we came here, he said, we have an altar where they have no right to eat, which serve in the tabernacle. He said, for the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned without the camp. Now that's in the law. You know, there's certain things brought in, take them things outside the camp, we burn them up, because we can't leave them carcasses in here. It's going to dirty everything up. The Most High don't deal with uncleanliness. Like you done heard Ed say it before, well, our Father deals in what? Clean. If the Most High y'all don't know how to do nothing else, well, he know how to get you clean. That's why he said, how can a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed according to thy word. You know what I'm saying? That's why he used to say that. Because the Father's a master cleaner. You know what I'm talking about? He can clean anybody up from the muck and filthiness of sin in this world. All you got to do is believe and obey his word and have your pristine. That's why he said, let your garments be white. You know what I'm saying? You already know white get dirty quick, don't you? You know what I'm talking about? But when you put on this man white, that fine righteousness, that linen of the saints, that thing ain't getting dirty when you walk in the word and keep it clean. This is what it says. He said, wherefore Yahshua also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. So he said to set apart the people by his own blood, it said he suffered outside the gate. He denied himself and went outside the gate so the people could be made whole. This is what he said. So let us go forth therefore unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. So he said, let us go ahead and suffer outside and be separated from everybody else so we can bear that same disgrace that he bared, so we can enter into everlasting life. Because we're going to have to do it. There ain't no way around it. Going back to Peter though, drop down to verse 11. He says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be therefore sober and watch unto prayer. Being sober means not just not to be smoking weed or getting drunk, but to be clear-minded. Because you got people who don't smoke no weed and don't drink no alcohol, but they drunk as the day is long. You know what I'm talking about? Because they drunk on the wine of fornication of that whore. Sipping all manner of things, being bewitched by sorceries. Drunk off stupidity. Drunk off lust. Drunk off worldliness. Drunk off fleshliness. And don't sit there, bill, sitting there and tap a hard liquor, but they drunk in the mind. You know what I'm talking about? So he said, be sober in your mind. Be clear-headed. Don't let things come in there and fog your brain up. Romans 6. First verse. Romans 6. When that suffering in the flesh come, now you dead. All these things, like I said, these are epistles, these are spiritual things showing, not let's say a high level of understanding, but bringing forth a mystery that what may have been revealed during the times of the prophets, that we can understand what the Master was coming to do. Verse 1. He said, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? So he says, should we continue transgressing God's law that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead sin live any longer therein? Didn't the man say, take up your cross and deny yourself? He that suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. That means he that has killed himself, he's dead from sin. He dead to that. I don't do that no more. I'm done with that. He said, no, you not that so many of us as were baptized into Yahshua the Messiah were baptized in his death. Because that's what that symbolizes when they put you in the water. You done died to sin, you come back up, risen as a new man. Word written upon your heart in true holiness after the image of he that created you. He said, therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, like as the Messiah was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. See, it's a lot of Israelites tell people we shouldn't get baptized. But we know full well that baptism don't mean because you get in the water, you automatically going to be a new person when you come out of the water. You're supposed to already have that in your heart and in your mind before you even got in the water. You know what I'm talking about? But the master got baptized, he needed to be baptized. He told John, suffer all righteousness to be so. You tell people all you got to do, they just say, oh man, just be washed by the water of the word and you done. But then you just hear this man say everybody that baptized is what? Baptized in his death. And when you come up, you baptize, when you coming up, that symbolizes his resurrection. You're not understanding the spiritual aspect of it. You understanding what you're taking on. You know what I'm talking about? It's a purpose of that. Our forefathers were baptized in the wilderness. But when we deal with the wilderness, we don't go into it. Because that's coming around the corner. He said, well, we've been planted together in the likeness of his death. We should be also in the likeness of his resurrection. So being planted in that water in the likeness of his death is just dealing with what we're dealing with tonight, which is suffering in the flesh to cease from sin. You done killed your sinly nature by the word, by obedience to the Father's will, and now you coming up, boom, as a spiritually glorified man. As if you came up out the grave at the last trump when the man came up. You covered in the blood of the Lamb now. That's all this is symbolizing, is that you went from being a sinner to a saint, from being dead to alive. So he says, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. Because that's all that is, that old man that walked in sin, I done killed him. Now I ain't serving sin no more. Because what did he say? He that commits sin is what? He's a servant of sin. And if you commit sin, you don't abide in the house. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. That's why I say the Holy Ghost only came to those that were baptized in the man's name. But it is what it is. He said, but for he that is dead is freed from sin. He that has suffered in the flesh and killed himself ain't free from transgression. Now if we be dead with the Messiah, we believe also that we shall live with him. So if we dead and die with him, you should obviously know that we're going to live with him, because does not the Master live forever at the right hand of the Father to make intercession for us at this very moment? So how you not going to live with him? He said, knowing that the Messiah being raised from the dead died no more, death had no more dominion over him. For in that he died under sin once, but in that he lived under God. So listen to what he say now. Knowing that this man is raised from the dead, he don't die no more. How many times did he die? One time. He's saying that death don't have no power over him no more. That's why he say, blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection, on whom the second death has no power. You know what I'm saying? They don't have no power over you no more. You don't have no fear of death, of being in bondage to the devil, as mentioned in Hebrew. Then he say that he died under sin once, so we should be dying under sin once and living under God, as we heard Peter say. He say, likewise, reckon yourselves also yourselves to be dead unto sin, but alive unto God through Yahshua the Messiah our Lord. So what is it telling you? Arm yourself with that same mind. The same way he died under sin, you died under sin. And as he living unto the Father, you live unto him. Because when you live unto him, you living unto the Father. That's what he's telling you. Have the same mind. What did he say now? Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that you should obey the lust thereof. So don't let the transgression of the law, don't let the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life and the love of this world reign in your mortal body, that you should obey that and commit sin and die. He said, not neither yield your members as instruments of righteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto God as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto God. Present your body as a living sacrifice, which is your reasonable service. Don't walk around in the midst of sin, but yield your body, which you used to yield to sin, yield it to do the works of God and save yourself alive. He said, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for you're not under the law, but under grace. Because when he's saying that it should not have dominion, you're not under the law, you're not under the law of sin. And what happens when you commit sin? You die. You understand that? When you commit sin, this man can take you out anytime he please. The man already told you, since a sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, it's criminally in the hearts of sons of men to do evil. So you feel like, because he didn't take you out and kill you right then, you can do what you want to. You know what I'm talking about? Is that not how people think? Oh, my God is a forgiving God. Oh, all you got to do is say you're sorry, God will forgive you. So you think because I didn't kill you right then and there, that you could continue in the contrary manner, doing all manner of wickedness and abominations and iniquity. And I'm going to just say, you all right, son, I'm ready. No, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to wake you up and I'm going to kill you again. You know what I'm talking about? Because all you had to do was just kill yourself and deny yourself. That's all you had to do. Listen to what he said. Know ye not that to whom you yield your servants to obey, his servants you are to whom you obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. So if you obey sin or you obey righteousness, this is who you serve. So it's better serve to deny yourself and serve the living God than to obey sin and serve death, which you mean you're showing the bringer of death, which is Satan. You don't read the whole thing though. Look at Proverbs 1, verse 8. Because I know this come up a lot. You know, used to hear it in a lot when we were younger, talking about peer pressure. But guess what? The Word of God told you about peer pressure a long time ago. Listen to what he said. He said, the fear of God is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. The fear of God, that's the beginning of knowledge. And dummies, they despise instruction. They don't want to be taught righteousness. But we didn't come here just for that. We came here for verse 8. I'm sorry, I might be in the wrong place. Verse 10, I should say. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. So if somebody come enticing you to do something you ain't got no business, he said, don't listen to them. This is what he said. If they say, come with us, let us wait for blood. Let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave and whole. As those that go down in the pit. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoils. Casting thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. Listen to what he say. My son, walk not thou in the way within, refrain thy foot from their path. And this is what we have to look at in all things. This is what Peter would tell us about not running to the wills of the Gentiles and serving the lust of men, but doing the will of God. These people come to the tell you, yeah, boy, we're going to get this money. We're going to ball. We're going to do this. See, this is going to be a thing. He say, son, don't listen to them. Keep your feet from their path. Deny yourself. Be discreet. Use discretion. And we're going to hear about that in a minute. Look at Philippians 2 and 7. Oh, I forgot to go to Haggai. This all good. Keep on working back there. Just like this. Philippians 2 and 7. I'll get that. Listen to what he said. Well, first back verse 5, pardon me. He said, let this mind be in you, which also was in the Messiah Yahshua, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God. But being made of no reputation, took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. Being found fashioned as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. And it said that whom God has also highly exalted and given him a name which is above every name. And we know the master say when he come back, he going to give everybody a name, his servants a name which no man knows except the man who gave it to him. If you do the same thing, because he already told you the disciple's not above his master. So you thinking you ain't going to think it's robbery to be equal with your master, with your Lord, with your king, with your high priest. And he said he'll give you a name which is above the name that you got right now. Ain't nobody going to know it. Because you humbled yourself. And even might have even strove against sin under blood. You understand? This man said, humble yourself. Be obedient even unto the cross. Look at Haggai 1 and 5. Because they go back to that James 4. We could get off the track, but the master was right. Listen to what he said. So remember what James said? That you ask all for all these things. Let's just sit and look at our people and say, is this us? Haggai 1 and about verse 5. This is the book right before the book of Zechariah. In the prophets. Listen to what this man said. Because we have to sit here, we have to do this, we got to consider our ways and the things that we're going after, and the things that we're seeking, and the things that we're doing. And it's going to tie in when we hit over to Galatians. So just think about this. He said, now therefore thus saith God of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much and you bring in little. So you work hard, you bring in so little. You work so hard all day, every day. You do this, you do that, yet you ain't got nothing. He said you eat, but you have not enough. So you chewing, but ain't never enough food. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there's none warm. And he that earn wages to put it into a bag with holes. Thus saith Yahweh hosts, consider your ways. So we got to sit there and consider, we doing all this stuff and we ain't getting nothing from it. You know what I'm talking about? Why am I not gaining? He said, consider your ways. Because he said, you ask and you receive not. Because you ask to consume it on your lust. I'm not going to let you get it. But listen to Galatians 5 and 16. But that's all we got to do. Because we already know. He said, I ain't never seen a righteous man begging for bread. And you know, y'all don't forsake none of his children. See, this is what, and we're going to deal with it in a moment. This is what pulled our people out the way, because they see sinners prospering and they want to prosper too. You know what I'm talking about? Not knowing the end of the wicked. What I say, Galatians 5 and 16. I'm on the wrong page. But listen to what this says. He said, this I say then, walk in the Spirit, ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. If you walk in the Spirit, and we know the Master said in John 6:63 that what? The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. He says the Spirit that quicken. Quicken means make alive. It's the word of God that makes you alive. You know what I'm talking about? So if you walk in the Spirit, aren't you alive? What Paul said in Romans 6, and newness of life? He said you ain't going to fulfill the lust of the flesh. Listen to what he said now. He said, for the flesh lust against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would. Now remember that when we go to another spot in Romans. He said the flesh and the Spirit lust against one another. James already told you this here. The Master already told you the Spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. The Spirit want to obey God's word, the flesh want to do what it want to do. So you have to dwell in one or the other, because you can't be in both. Because that's what happens. What happens then? You're double-minded. You know what I'm talking about? That's why I say purify your hearts, you double-minded. Because you can't go both ways. You can't straddle the fence. The Master said, I'd rather you be hot or cold than lukewarm. Since you're neither hot nor cold but lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. You know what I'm talking about? I told you before, don't nobody want no hot soda, and don't nobody want no cold coffee. You know what I'm talking about? Be all the way in. Because you can't straddle both ways and say, I'm going to serve God today, and I'm going to do this today. And I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to do this here. You can't do that. You know what I'm talking about? You got to be in the Spirit or in the flesh. That means striving to kill your flesh so you can walk in the Spirit, or you're going to end up in death. Drop down to verse 24. Listen to what he said. They that are the Messiahs have crucified the flesh with the affections and the lust. They that belong to the Messiah, they have killed their flesh with its emotions and its desires. And if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. So if we live in the Word, let us walk in the Word. You know what I'm talking about? That's all he telling you. Now where we going to go to next? Let's look at John 12. See what John got to bear with us who on not. Because he's going to tell you something that doesn't already. Because this is the key thing. This is not something that they really stress on us. Now, you know, the Master describes himself as being austere. Austere means someone who is rigorously self-disciplined, strict, and uncompromising. You know what I'm talking about? So denying yourself has to do with what? Self-discipline. You know what I'm talking about? And where does your discipline come from? From learning the word and practicing and applying the word so you can discipline yourself. As you know. And you know. And y'all too. You know, ain't nobody got to tell me to go to the gym. You know what I'm talking about? Just like if I got a job, ain't nobody got to tell me, you know, you got to go get ready to go to work. Because I'm already ready. I know what time I got to be there. You know what I'm talking about? I know what I got to do. Once you done show me what I got to do, you ain't got to keep telling me. You know what I'm talking about? I know if I'm working out, there's certain things I can't eat. Ain't nobody got to tell you, you know that ain't part of your diet. Because I'm going to discipline myself. That's how my mama raised me. I thank God in the name of Yahshua for that. She taught us discipline. You know what I'm talking about? It's the same thing with the word. It's a discipline. You got to be able to know, I can't do that. You know what I'm talking about? I can't do that. Yeah, somebody going to move you. You maybe want to slap them upside the head. Cuss them out for being flat out stupid. Yeah, you might see something that you desire and you want to go after it. But then you know what? I can't do that. You know what I'm talking about? Nigga, I like Reese's peanut butter cups and candy bars and all that there. But I know I can't eat that there. That's going to sabotage what I'm trying to do. You know what I'm talking about? I'm trying to build my body to build muscle and burn fat to be a finely tuned machine. So I know full well, I can't go look upon this woman. I can't put my hands in here. I can't go chasing after this here. I can't be lying to these people so I can get this here. Because that's going to hinder and mess up what I'm trying to do, which is live forever. You know what I'm talking about? I can't be doubting God because this something here might have took a little longer than I might have thought it would. Or I'm waiting on this hill, waiting on this hill. These people persecuting me, calling me names, and I'm constantly suffering. I got to go ahead and bear the suffering and stay disciplined to his word that I may receive the full reward at the end. That's why I say run this race with patience. He said, you got to endure. You know what I'm saying? People don't want to endure. One thing my mama told me when I was locked up one time, though she didn't stress it when I was free. You know what I'm saying? When things going hard, you got to persevere. You know what I'm saying? They teach us to persevere when we playing sports. Don't they always say in sports, look at the team, they dealing with adversity? You know what I'm talking about? But when it comes to life, they don't teach us to deal with adversity like that. At least when I say life, I'm talking about in words. They don't teach us that. It's all right, we all fall down. But this man said he keep you from falling. But nevertheless, John 12:24. He said, truly, truly, I say unto you, except the corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abide alone. But if it die, it bring forth much fruit. So he said, if that seed of corn fall in the ground and die, meaning you kill yourself and you crucify yourself, you kill the old man, you kill the lust that's in his members, then it bear fruit. And we just dealt with that fruit a couple weeks ago. Then what's that fruit? The fruits of righteousness. Because that seed he talking about that fall in the ground is the word. You all right? You sweating hard? You okay? Huh? They ain't hurt. Okay, then make sure you looking like a 77-year-old woman ain't had an arthritis pills, and you want a hot cup of milk. You know, young people don't drink hot milk. You all right though? We just make sure. But when they bring forth that fruit, then they can live. That's what he's telling you. It's got to die. You just heard it in Romans. He said, he that loves his life shall lose it, and he that hates his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. This is what he said, that same thing. You got to hate your life in this world. You got to hate everything this world stands for and cease from it. You know what I'm talking about? Because the things of this world bring forth death. He said, if any man serve me, listen to what he said. If any man serve me, let him follow me. So if you're going to be my servant, and I'm going to be your Lord, and you're going to be my disciple, my student, and I'm going to be your master, your teacher, then you got to follow me and go where I'm going. And he's saying, where I am, there shall also my servant be. So where he at, you going to be. So guess what? The master ain't in no club. Master ain't in no strip club. Master ain't in nowhere that don't become holiness. He's not going to be there. Now, if you his servant, so if you his servant, what that means? You ain't going to be there neither. The master ain't nowhere where sin at. So guess what that means? You ain't going to be there neither. The man just said, where I am, my servant going to be. He said, if any man serve me, him will my Father honor. So he said, if any man serve me, him will my Father honor. That's why he said, kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish from the way when his anger be kindled just a little. The master said himself, he that honors me, honors the Father who sent me. So when you do what your big brother say, as Lamont used to say when he was young, you're not the boss of me. But you know the master got a parable about that. When he sent the men to the vineyard, and they killed all them people. Then he said, I'm going to send my son. Surely they're going to listen to him. And they killed him too. But what they say, oh, he ain't the boss of me. You know what I'm talking about? That's what they tell. That's what people get on. Ain't nobody can't tell you what to do. You know what I'm saying? But everybody under authority somewhere. You know what I'm talking about? The man already broke it down, and when we deal with marriage, we're going to deal with it. The woman is under the authority of the man. The man is under the authority of the master. The master is under the authority of the father. So truth be told, everybody following the father. You know what I'm talking about? When that woman do what her husband say, she ain't doing nothing but doing what the Messiah telling her husband to do. And the Messiah ain't doing nothing but what the Father told him to do. So everybody following the Father when you walk in this fashion. And that's why he say, if you honor my son, I'm going to honor you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why he told the woman, respect your husband as you and serve him and submit yourself as unto the Lord. Because when you do that there, you honoring your Lord, which means you honoring your Father, and everybody going to be saved. This is the fashion of how things roll. This is how he works, because at the end of the day, he set it up to where if you do this, you actually serving the Father. That's all that the root of the matter is. Because the Father's at the head of everything. The Father's telling the master what to do, the master telling the man what to do, the man telling the women and the children what to do. So who the order really coming from? It's coming from the Father. That's where the order's coming from. The order ain't coming from that man unless he telling you to do something outside the word. Now if he telling you to do something outside the word, you tell that nigga, man, you do what you want to do. I can't follow you on that. You know what I'm talking about? Now, I ain't telling you to do that now. The man tell you to do something outside the word of God, don't listen to him. Because who is your first obligation to? To the Father. Your first obligation to the Father. I don't care what that man say, want to go cook me a pork chop. You cook your own pork chop, nigga. You know what I'm talking about? What we got to go do the Christmas light thing? You go like your own Christmas light. Matter of fact, I can't say nothing, you bring a tree in this house. But I'm letting you know, I ain't putting no lights on it, I ain't putting no gifts on it, and don't ask me to cook no goddamn Christmas dinner neither. You know what I'm talking about? Because you can't really say nothing to it. Once he done made a decision, what he got to do, you got to respect it. That don't mean you got to adhere to it. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just telling you, that don't mean you got to adhere to it. Because you can't tell me, oh, you ain't bring that in my house. You can bring it in here, nigga. But just know, You bear that sin by yourself. You understand what I'm saying? You bear that sin by yourself. Straight up and down. Well, what we got to do? Hebrews 9:14. Because when you serve him, this is what should happen. Hey, like matter of fact, what the master said in that parable, he said, if you got two sons, the father told one son, go in my vineyard, and he said, yeah, I'll go, but didn't go. And one said, I ain't going to go, but repented and went. Who did the will of his father? Because it might be time to tell you to do something you don't want to do, but guess what? You got to do it. You know what I'm talking about? It ain't even up for discussion. Look, y'all be dead. It's been times you done brought people around. It's been times I've been out in the street. Well, I ain't want to be bothered. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't want to preach. I ain't want to say nothing. But guess what? You got to do that. You know what I'm talking about? Nobody don't care what you want to do right now. Do my will. Yea, Lord, I got to go and do that. Because it be times, I don't care who you is, we flesh and blood, it's going to be times you don't want to be bothered. It ain't nothing against the people. You know what I'm talking about? But sometimes you just don't feel like being bothered. But guess what? You got work to do, nigga. Tighten up. You know what I'm talking about? He say, feed my lambs. Tighten up. Handle your business. But Hebrews 9:14. So when you done did this here, listen to what that man say. He said, how much more shall the blood of the Messiah, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God? Now we just heard about that, right? Set yourself up as a living sacrifice. Gather my saints together as a sacrifice. He offered himself as a sacrifice and a sweet smelling savor to God without spot. He said, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. So when you through this man's blood, through this man's spirit, should it not purge your mind from serving dead works? Because we know when you commit sin, that leads to death. So that you can do the works of the living God and live forever. We got to sit and ponder on these things because our soul is on the line. Look at Ephesians 2:1. This is what it said. You have he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sin. So while we were in trespasses and sin, he done made us alive now through the Spirit, through the Word. That's what he was just reading in Hebrew. Wherein in time past you walked according to the course of this world. Same thing Peter told you. There was time we walked in what the world did, but now we gonna cease. Why is that? According to the prince of the power of the air, he that commit. He said, know ye not who you live your members to? That's who you servants to, whether it be sin or the devil. So we walked according to the prince of the power of the air. Talking about the devil. The spirit that now work in the children of disobedience. So those who out here sinning, who have no desire to abide in his word, that same spirit working in them. See, that spirit that's working in them, we trying to kill that. That's why he say the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Not trying to kill it, we must kill it if we desire to be saved and enter into his rest. He said, among whom also we had our conduct in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. So knowing this here, this is how we can be able to have compassion on those who want to be saved. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people open up this book. See, my homeboy told me the other day, he said he told his mom, that's probably why she was looking at me like she wanted to kill me when I seen her the other day. They was like, Mom, you need to close that Bible up if you just going to go back and do the same thing you were doing after you get finished reading it. And that's real talk. I said, I bet she looked at you like she wanted to kill you. You know what I'm talking about? Because people ain't used to somebody telling them that. Nigga, if you going to get back out here lying and stealing and cussing and fornicating and whoring, what you reading the book for? You know what I'm talking about? You reading the book to take on the discipline and the character and the spirit of the author of the book. That's why he say look unto the author and finisher of our faith. So what you going to read this for and then close it up and go back and do the same thing you've been doing? You might as well not open it at all. You know what I'm talking about? But now if you got a heart and mind to want to be saved and have the same mind the Messiah had, then we can be able to have compassion on people who did the same thing that we once did. You know what I'm talking about? That's why I can have compassion on a nigga who sell dope. I don't know you can sell it with you. You know what I'm talking about? But when you want to stay stupid and stay by that stupidity, now I can't have nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? Because once you didn't know something, that's one thing. But once the information is brought, you sit down and hear it, and you want to deal with it, and you still want to do the same thing, man, I don't have no dealing with you. You're going to be a snare and a trap to me, man. I got to get you from around. He said, but God, who was rich in mercy, for his great love, where he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, had he quickened us together with the Messiah, for grace ye are saved. So for that free gift of this man's blood, he has made us alive, as you heard Paul mention in the other letter, in Romans 6. that when we buried in his baptism, we made alive with this man. But we were dead in these sins, but now this man has come to make us alive so that we can work the righteousness of God. And he has raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places with the Messiah, Yahshua. This is our desire. This should be your desire. Should be why you sit in here hearing this man's word, and you go home and you read it, and then you apply it in your life so you can bring forth the fruits of the Spirit, be made alive so you can live forever. Because you don't walk around the God on your head. Titus 2:12. He said, truly it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. And all this is teaching us to do what? Teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. And this is all it's about. The Master came to teach us that let's deny ungodliness, let's deny being unholy, let's deny unrighteousness, let's deny worldly lust and desires, and that we should live with a clear mind, walking righteously and holy in this world, looking for that blessed hope and glorious appearing of the great God and our Savior, Yahshua the Messiah. Looking for that there so that he be our confidence at his return and we don't be terrified like everybody else going to be. He said, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity. And listen to what he said. And purify unto himself a peculiar people. So that means, you know what peculiar means? That means odd, strange, different. You know what I'm talking about? People got to see you and they got to know, well, he ain't like everybody else. You know what I'm talking about? See, that's what holy means to be set apart. You hear sanctified, oh, I'm sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. That means you set apart, filled with a set apart spirit. You different. You shouldn't even have to tell people I'm a Jew. They should automatically, they may not know what a Jew is and all that, but they should look at you and be able to tell, like, what? She's not like everybody else. He's not like everybody else. They don't do the thing. They can just see it. You understand? You're going to stand out like a sore thumb. He said, these things speak and exhort and rebuke with all authority, let no man despise thee. So he said to be a peculiar church, but I think we're going to deal with it in another spot. We're going to take off on it right now at the present time. Look at Galatians 6:14. Just keep that in mind, what he say about that peculiar treasure, because you're going to hear it again. Listen to what he said. Keep this in your mind. He said, but God forbid that I should glory, save in the cross of our Lord Yahshua the Messiah, by whom the world is crucified unto me and I the world. So we shouldn't be glorying in nothing other than the death of and resurrection of our Master, because now I done killed myself and living under him. You understand what he's telling you? You understand that? That's what he's telling you now. That now that he done did this here, the world is dead to me and I'm dead to the world. Teaching us that by denying worldly lust and ungodliness, we should live righteously and godly in this present world. The world is dead to me. The things that the world is going to do, I'm not doing. That's how people should know Christmas is not of God, because everybody is doing it. You know what I'm talking about? When you have a mass multitude of people and they say it's coming out this book and everybody doing it, you know God ain't stamped that. Because he said, few going in that straight gate and you're going to hear that. Few. He said you got an elect remedy. It ain't never going to be no whole cavalcade of people. Look at John 16:33. He said, these things have I spoken unto you, that you might have peace in the world, that you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. This is what Paul's talking about. He done overcame the world and endured the cross, despising the shame, so that we could. You know what I'm talking about? So that's why he said the disciple's not above his master. We supposed to be, that's why he said if the master didn't think it to be equal to be robbery with God, and through him now we able to become the sons of God who believe on his name, then ain't we going to be equal? You know what I'm talking about? Which means all of us is the same. Most people look at it, if you look at a family, most everybody in the family is the same. Have the same characteristics. I'm talking about physically. Most of them have the same personalities, close together. You know what I'm talking about? You can tell, oh yeah, that's such and such people. That's such and such people. Oh yeah, them niggas look like. Yeah, they acolytes. It's the same thing with the Godhead family, the Elohim family. It's the same thing. If you're the family of y'all, everybody the same. Now you understand why Smith say it ain't no individuality in the body of the Messiah. Because everybody is the same. We dealt with that when we were dealing with the one body. Everybody's the same. He say speak the same thing, have the same judgment, have the same mind, one heart, one way, one everything. How there's going to be some individuality and everybody got to be doing the same thing? You know what I'm talking about? That ain't going to happen. The only thing that's going to be different is the diversity of gifts. That's it. But nevertheless, look at 1 John 5 and 4. 1 John 5 and 4. It says, for whatsoever is born of God overcome the world. And this is the victory that overcome the world, even our faith. So the suffering of the flesh that cease from sin, which is overcoming the world. He said, if you're born of God, if you're born of the seed of the word of God, how are you not going to overcome the world? Didn't the man say, if the corn fall on the ground and die, it bear much fruit? And if you bear that fruit, you bear the fruits of the Spirit. And if you bear the fruits of the Spirit, you work in the works of righteousness and holiness in the faith of Yahshua. How you ain't going to overcome the world and live? He said, who is he that overcome the world? And he that believes that Yahshua is the Son of God. So if you believe Yahshua is the Son of God, how you not going to overcome the world? You're going to do as your teacher did. You're going to do as your example did. Simple and plain. Look at Luke 14 and 26. So I'm glad I ain't put mine on. You got the same sort of people. Oh, man. You got to took the time off. As you can see, this here overcome the world kind of go hand in hand. Luke 14 and 26 says, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, in his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. A lot of unbelievers and atheists like to play when they hear this here. All the man saying, don't put nobody before me. Now sometimes you might come up to the place. Could you be able to deal with if you had to cut your mom off, cut your dad off, cut your kids off, cut your wife off, cut yourself off? Because that's all you're talking about, deny yourself. Okay, like as we know our sister dealing with this here, what are people with Christmas? You know what I'm talking about? Look here, mama, I can't do that. I love you, but I don't love you enough to get 5 maggots, though. You know what I'm talking about? Straight up, I don't love you that much. Son, I love you, not enough to go buy some Christmas gifts and damn myself to hell, because I want to please you more than I want to please God. Didn't Peter say it's better for us to obey God than man? Ain't that what the word say? It's better for us to obey God's word than obey what a man say. He says it's better to put confidence in y'all to put confidence in man. Cursed be the man that trusteth in man and make flesh his own. You know what I'm talking about? Look at what, like you know, I love Rick. But I don't love enough to put him up before God, though. I don't love nobody that much. It's simple as that. Look at verse 27. Whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Who don't take up his cross daily and deny himself and kill himself every day and deny the lust of his flesh and the lust of his eyes, you can't be my student. And if you can't be my student, I can't be your teacher. And if I can't be your teacher, how you going to be saved? Because didn't the man just say he's teaching us to deny ungodliness, worldly lusts, so that we should live righteously and soberly and godly in this present world? So if you don't want to take up your cross and deny yourself, then you can't take his yoke upon you to learn of him. How? How you going to be saved? You have to sit and ponder upon that. This is not what these people is stressing us to learn of this man, because he is our teacher. That's what it means when you say master. It's your teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up and down, we got an open book test with all the answers in it. If we fail the test, we deserve to burn with fire and maggots. You have an open book test. And all of them been in school and seen a dumb nigga who failed the open book test. Every last one of them seen there was one idiot in the class who failed an open book test. How do you fail an open book test? You know what I'm talking about? You got to really sit and think upon that. Because you know y'all used to clown niggas in class who failed open book tests. Well, you got a 75, they gave us 2 hours, the whole bar. You know what I'm talking about? She told us chapters 9, 10, and 11. You couldn't find the answers, you just had not been trying. But see, the difference is instead of getting a low mark on a piece of paper, you're going to burn. We have to really sit and think about that. We got an open book test with all answers. There is no rhyme and no reason that any of us should fail and not win this race and get the crown that's at the end of the race. You know what I'm talking about? You have to really sit and think about that. Because I know I done seen niggas in class. Nigga asked me, can he cheat off my paper? And we doing an open book test. I say, man, get out my face, man. You got the book right there, man. Like, come on, man. You want to look on my paper and you got the book open? That's shameful. That's shameful. But we got to look at it in that natural sense and see that, like, yo, we really do got an open book test. How I'm going to fail? You see what I'm saying? How I'm going to fail? The man is teaching us how to deny ourselves. How I'm going to fail it? Represent this under himself. 28. He say, for which of you intending to build a tower, sit not down first and count the cost, whether he has sufficient to finish it. Which one of y'all go to do something and say, do I got the money to do it? You got to say, do you have it in you to deny yourself? Do you have it in you to do what's necessary to save your soul? He say, less happily after he have laid the foundation is not able to finish all that, behold, began to mock them. And you know our people, you know niggas, you tell people you going to go do something, they hoping you don't be able to accomplish it so they can laugh at you. I done had people come up, they ain't seen me, you still in the word? What type of question that is? What you think I was just going to fall off and go back to doing this, that? Are you crazy? You know what I'm talking about? But that's how people want, oh, he wasn't able to finish the race. Oh, he fell out, he hurt his ankle. That's what people want to do. They want to mock you. People really don't want you to be saved. Like I told you, Pimp C said it well. So I think I knew you, I would tell you that. Niggas smile when you're up, and they frown when you're down. And when you change for the better, niggas start coming around. You know what I'm talking about? When you go to change in your life to do what's right in the eyesight of God, people don't have nothing to do with you. When you're doing well, they got a frown on your face. And when you're doing bad, they skinning and grinning. You know what I'm talking about? Because people don't want you to actually have success if they ain't having it. Because people want to have something to talk about. People want to have somebody to laugh at. People want to have somebody to mock. And when you say you standing and you naming yourself after the Messiah, they waiting on you to slip. You understand what I'm telling you? They waiting on you to fall out the way. I told you that nigga was going to be back around here when I'm doing this, that, there, and all. That's what they want to do. That's what niggas do. You know what I'm talking about? Real men and women don't do that. You know what I'm talking about? You come and tell a real friend, a real man, a real woman, you try to do something with your life and they can see that's earnestly what you want to do. But do your thing, man, and have good success. And if there's anything I can help you on with it, man, you let me know. You know what I'm talking about? They ain't going to stop messing with you because you don't do this here no more. They may not holler at you that much because you don't grow apart unless they're going in the same direction. You know what I'm talking about? But it's still love when they see you. You know what I'm talking about? Hey, man, what's good with you, man? Come holler at me. We'll sit down and eat sometime, man. You can let me know how things going with you, man. How that thing working out with you, man. You getting yourself together. You still walking with the Lord? You got them sins up off you? I'm glad to hear that, man. I need to get myself together, too. I need to come around there and drink what you drinking. Do what you doing. Because I see it's working for you. You know what I'm talking about? That's what they want to see. But when they don't want to be saved, they look at you and say, this nigga think he better than me. No, you just rotten and no good, set for hell, and you ought to go instead of having a humble heart to say, you know what? I seen bro don't do the same things he used to do. He don't go to the same places he used to go. He's totally different now. I think I need to holler at bro, see what he's doing, so I can get myself together. Cause I know I'm right. But instead of nigga Nash on you, waiting for you to fall. That's how they do. He said, now, or what king going to make war against another king, sit not down first and consult whether he had able with 10,000 to meet him that come against him with 20,000, or else while the others yet a greater way off, he sent an ambassador and a desired conditions of peace. So likewise, listen to what he say. Likewise, whosoever be of you that forsake not all that he have, he cannot be my disciple. If you're not willing to abandon and leave everything you got, how you gonna serve the Lord? Do you not know what did he do with his disciples when he seen it? He said, Matthew, follow me. What he did? Got up and left everything. Seen Peter, he's like, look here, man, I'm gonna make you fishers of men. Follow me. He like this. Whoa, how do you? Matter of fact, look at Luke 9:62 and listen to what this man said. Back it up about verse 59 though. This is what this example of this here now. And we're gonna come back to that Luke 14. I know we're running long, but we're gonna get there eventually. He said unto the other, follow me. But he said, Lord, suffer me first to go bury my father. Yahshua said unto him, let the dead bury their dead, but go thou and preach the kingdom of God. So when he was saying this here, the dead, he talking about them sinners, let them sinners bury sinners, go preach my word. Listen to what he said. And another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go bid them farewell, which are at my house, at home at my house. Yahshua said unto him, no man having put in his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. He said, don't be putting your hand and then go to looking back. Let me go bid farewell to my people at my house. Look here, Mom. I see you when I see you. I'm out of here. You know what I'm talking about? Boy, the Son of God, boy, my maker. He who made the heavens and the earth. Didn't he say the world was made by him and the world knew him not? The man who made me and everything that I'm standing on and everything I'm looking at told me to go preach the word. I've been chosen. I'm out of here. Ma, I see you when I see you. Y'all be wondering, why Jimmy came home about 3 days? Where he at? Somebody come up, man, the Lord told him to go preach the word. Oh, okay. I know I had a good son. He came home and all he said, God, well, I got to go. You know what I'm talking about? Look here, boy. I love the bucket, but that man told me I had to go. Y'all ain't see me that often, did it? I had to go. This here, only time you see me when it was time to come in the house and lay down or come to. I'm out of here. I'm in the street all day, every day. That man say go, I'm gone. You know it, and you don't see. Every time I just get up and go. I don't even know where I'm going. You know what I'm talking straight up. No, I said, I know you get frustrated. I ain't even think I'm going to come out the door. You know what I'm talking about? My intention was to do this here, man. I done left my blanket everywhere, this, that, there, and the other, because I know this man say go, and you going right now. You deal with all that later. If she don't get it before you get back, you'll get it. But nigga, go where I told you to go. I'm going to holler at you. Please don't get mad at me when I get back and throw stuff at me, but the man told me to go. You know what I'm talking about? I got to go. You got to have that same mind. That man say go, go. Don't ask no questions. It's going to work out for you in the end. Back in Luke 14. He say salt is good, but if the salt is lost its savor, where shall it be seasoned? Say if you don't put something in the season, the pot, and don't do no seasoning, what you going to do with it? Master going to tell you what he going to do with it. It's neither fit for the land nor yet for the dung hill, but men cast it out. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. If I can't use it, I'm going to cast it off. Because if you don't want to forsake everything that you have and deny yourself to do my will, I can't do nothing with you. The hell you go. You got to sit and think about that. Ain't that what he just told you? You don't want to forsake everything that you got and deny yourself and take up your cross and follow me. What I got you for? I can't do nothing with you. Don't worry about it. I got something I can do with you though. You know what I'm talking about? Look at Luke 16. Oh, that's what I want. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong place. Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go to Proverbs 23. Now, you heard what he said. You got to forsake all that you have. Now, you know these churches be out here telling us about this money. Let's get this money. Let's see what the book says. Let's see what the book says. Proverbs 23. Because this be a hindrance to a lot of people because they teach this foolishness to people. And look here. If the Lord bless you to be able to have monetary riches, like he said, man, don't be rich. And he said, be rich in good works. And we'll read it just so y'all can hear the way he said that. But look at Proverbs 23. Because we should be laboring under everlasting life. Verse 4. He said, labor not to be rich. The man said, don't work to be rich. Listen to what he said. Cease from thy own wisdom. So what is he telling you? Deny yourself. Them your thoughts. That's not the wisdom of God. Because if God wants you to have money, why would God's word say, don't work to be rich and cease from your own thoughts? Ain't that what he did tell you? Let me know that, because I didn't say it. That's what it said on it. The man said, cease from your own wisdom. Listen to what he said. Wilt thou set thy eyes upon that which is not? Because we know what Paul wrote in his letter. We set our things on the things that are eternal, not temporal. Things that are temporal are temporary. We set our things that are during the heaven. We're going to hear more about it in a minute. He says, for riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle towards heaven. See that money fly away. Did he say a man earn wages to put in a bag with holes? Man, say consider your ways. He said you lust and you have not. Consider your ways. So the reason why I tell you that, let's see what the master said. Let's see if it's consistent. Look at John 6 and 27. Let's just see if it's consistent. Because this is what you should be working towards. But let's see if the word is consistent. John 6 and 27 says this. Back it up to verse 26. So this is how you can know. You know we the Jews now. Because this sounds like niggas. He said, Yahshua answered them and said, truly, truly, I say unto you, you seek me, not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. So you don't come looking for me because of the works I'm doing. You all come around here because y'all want something to eat. You know what I'm talking about? Like straight up, that's what he's saying. Short, long version of it, whatever you want to take. He said, y'all ain't looking for me because I'm righteous. And I got the words of everlasting life. And because I work signs and wonders and miracles before you, you niggas coming for some fish and bread. But listen to what he tells them. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for that meat which endure the everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him have the God the Father sealed. He said, don't work for the meat that perish. That fish eventually gonna rot. that meat of that cow or that chicken, eventually it's going to go bad. You know what I'm saying? Now, we got processed food now. You know, Twinkies don't never go bad. You know what I'm talking about? But we know real food, living organisms from the true and living God go bad. He said, don't labor for that. That perish. He said, labor for that meat of this word, which turns you to everlasting life, which the Son of Man going to give you because God, the Father, has sealed him. Work for that. You know what I'm talking about? They don't tell us to work for those things. They tell us, prosper. Get your car, get your house, get you all this here, all that temporary. That's why the man say, what advantage you get all this stuff and you lose your soul and you cast away. Go to Luke 16, about verse 10. What advantage that is you get all that? Listen to what he say. We're going to deal with this here again in another spot. Listen to what he say now. Verse 10. Matter of fact, verse 9. I say unto you, make to yourselves the friends of mammon and unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitation. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. He that is unjust in least is also unjust also in much. So he said, if you faithful in a little bit I give you, then I know you're going to be faithful in a lot. But if you ain't even right with a little bit I give you, I know you're going to be wicked if I give you a lot. Listen to what he say. If you therefore have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? Say, if you ain't even been faithful with unrighteous money and worldly things, who gonna give you the true riches of the Spirit and the Word of God? Who gonna give you that? Because it's your riches. The Father desire to give you what's yours. But if you ain't faithful or worthy of it, why am I giving it to you? All y'all had at some point in your life, your parents had something for you, but you weren't doing the things that made you worthy to receive it and give it to you. Because you wasn't gonna know what to do with it. You want to do nothing but mess it up. He said, he's saying, if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? If you can't even handle somebody else's stuff, how you going to handle yours? You got to sit and think about that. He said, no servant can serve two masters, for he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. You can't serve God and money. You got to choose, so you got to deny yourself. Which is more important? That's why he told you, labor not to be rich. Cease from your own wisdom. You can't do both. Because one's going to take you in a different direction. If you serving God, you're going this way. You're going the right-hand way. You serving money, it's going to take your left-hand side. That's why he say, perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds, destitute of the truth, who say that gain is godliness, from such withdraw yourself. Get away from these people. He said the love of money is the root of all evil. Though men lusted after it, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. But he say, follow after love, righteousness, peace, meekness. Follow after the things that are meet for a man of God to follow, that he may be perfect. Don't follow after the things of this world, because if you got love for the world, the love of the Father is not in you, and you're an enemy of God. That's why he said, don't be conformed to this world. You can't be a peculiar treasure doing what the world does. Galatians 2 and 17. And this is what they don't like to hit us in the face with this here, because basically they want to tell us that you can have it all. You know what I'm talking about? That you can have worldly status, worldly riches, worldly fame, worldly material goods, and spiritual blessings, and spiritual riches, and everlasting life. And you can't have it all. You got to make a choice. Is you going to deny yourself from these things and live forever, or are you going to keep these things and die and go to hell? Now, I'm not saying that being rich is going to take you to hell, but it allows you to be snared and entrapped in many temptations. As Paul said, it allows you to be, because the more money you got, that means the more things you're open to. You know what I'm talking about? And the more things you open to means more temptation. And if you ain't rooted in the Word, you're going to fall. You know what I'm talking about? If you ain't got no root in yourself, what do he say? When persecution and tribulation arise because of the Word, by and by they are offended because they had no root in themselves. But listen to what he say in verse 17 of Galatians 2nd chapter. He say, but if while we seek to be justified by the Messiah, we ourselves are also found sinners, is therefore the Messiah the minister of sin? God forbid. This is what the people are telling you, oh, God saves sinners, and all this here, God love everybody. That's a lie. This man say, if we found sinners, did the Messiah come to minister to teach us to sin? No. God, no. God forbid. Listen to what he say now. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. He that's looking back is not fit for the kingdom of God. If you don't destroy your sinful nature and destroy those lusts in your members, and then you build them up again, what would that make you? Just like he said, a transgressor and a fool. He said, for I through the law am dead to the law, that I may live unto God. So it's like he said, I have killed myself to sin, So I can be dead unto the law, which comes with sin, because when you commit sin, death is required. That's why we sacrifice animals. This is what it says. I am crucified with the Messiah. Nevertheless, I live. Yet not I, but the Messiah live in me. And we're about to deal with that soon. So if you done killed yourself to the Messiah, then the Messiah is living in you, which means the Word is in you. And you living unto the Word now. He said, the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. So now you're living unto him who died for you. You know what I'm talking about? You're not living unto him. Matter of fact, look at Galatians 5. Not Galatians 5, I'm sorry. 2 Corinthians 5 real quick. See what he said on that mountain. He's going to tell you the same thing. Verse 15. That's all we want. He said, and that he that died for all. Well, verse 14. For the love of the Messiah constrain us, because we thus judge that if one died for all, then we're all dead. And that he died for all, and that they which live should not henceforth live unto themselves, but unto him which died for them and rose again. That means deny yourself. Take up your cross. Don't live for yourself. Live for this man who gave himself to God as a sweet smelling savor for the redemption of your soul. With that precious blood that was without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. Let's look at John 11:26. Now he said we're going to live under him who died for us. Let's see how that's executed. John 11:26. We're going to look at verse 25. Because it was dealing with that there. You already dealt with it a little bit. Yahshua said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. Because you know that if you are at the same spirit that raised the Messiah from the dead be in you, then he going to raise you from the dead. He that believe in me, though he were dead, yet he shall live. So if you believe in him and walk in him, though you were dead in trespasses and sin, didn't he say that in Ephesians? He's quickened you. He done brought you and made you alive from the trespasses and sin that you may live under God. Whosoever live and believe in me shall never die. Believe thou this. Do you believe that? That if you live and believe in this man, you'll never taste death? Because if you don't believe it, you need to close the book up, go eat, drink, and be merry, because you ain't got no reward coming. Look at Ezekiel 20:11. You got to believe that if you dwell in him and he dwell in you, and you live by him as he lived by the Father, that you shall live forever. Ezekiel 20:11, he said, I gave them my statutes and showed them my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. Did the master walk in the statutes and the judgments? So don't if you walk in the master, you're going to walk in the statutes and the judgments and live in him? Because you believe in him and you're going to try to overcome the world as he overcame the world? You know what I'm talking about? Which is our victory, which is our faith. Look at Leviticus 18:5. He'll tell you the same thing. Leviticus 18:5. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am Yah. So if you do these things, you're going to be living in the Messiah. Because what? In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So when you dwell in the Word, you dwell in the Master, and the Master lives by the Father. And if you live by the Master, you live by the Father, you live by the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High God. Look at Ezekiel 18:30. Because son after that, they're going to see when you do this here, the heart transplant comes. So this is all it's dealing with denying yourself. Just going a little bit deep. She wasn't here for it, but neither was you. You got to go back and look at Overcome the World, and you'll see how all that tie in together. You hear me? Because we just dealt with the rewards you're going to get for denying yourself. Now we really dealing with the executing of denying yourself. So you can get into this kingdom that we dealt with last week. Because you want to be where God going to be at. And where God going to be at? In Jerusalem. He ain't going to be in Jacksonville, Florida. He ain't coming to New York City. You know what I'm talking about? He ain't going to Paris. He ain't going to London. He ain't going to Moscow. He ain't going to Beijing. He going to be in Jerusalem. You want to be where he is. Ezekiel 18:30. He said, therefore I will judge you, O house of Israel, everyone according to his ways, saith Yah. Repent. Turn yourselves from your transgression, so iniquity should not be your ruin. Turn yourself from sin. Cast that away. Deny yourself, so sin won't be your destruction. Cast away from you all your transgressions, whereby you have transgressed, and make you a new heart and a new spirit. For why will you die, O house of Israel? So he say, take that stony heart out of you, put that heart of flesh in you, and live unto him who died for you and rose again. Let's look at Luke 5 and about verse 13. This is what he said. And he spake a parable unto them. No man put a piece of a new garment upon an old.
If otherwise, then both the new make a rent, and the piece that was taken out of the new agree not with the old. And no man put new wine in the old bottles, else the new wine will burst the bottles, and be spilled, and the bottle shall perish. But new wine must be put in the new bottles, and both are preserved. So he said, look here, we already heard that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So you got to kill that old man and put on that new man. Because you can't have that old man and put that new wine in that new bottle. It ain't going to happen. It's going to burst. Something's going to be spilled and wasted away. You can't do it. But listen to this to keep that. Listen to what he says. No man having drunk old wine straightway desires the new, for he says the old is better. So you, off the rip, you ain't going to say that this new living way that you want to do is better because you want to keep doing what you've been doing. But we know the righteousness of God. We got to kill ourselves and do what God said to do. Let's look at Hebrews 10 and 22. Hebrews 10 and 20. Back up about verse 19 though. And he says, having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Yahshua, by a new and living way, which he hath consecrated for us through the veil, that is to say, his flesh. And having a high priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart, in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that is promised. That's why he say, endure and run the race. Man is faithful that is promised. Because through this man's blood, now we're going to live a new and living way, and we're going to be able to be armed with the same mind he had and deny ourselves from worldly lust and ungodliness, and to be clear-minded and to walk accordingly. Let's look at Romans 7 and 1. Because now we're going to deal with the battles of the flesh. We're probably not going to start with this one. I think it's really probably going to start. Let's look at Romans 7. Verse 4. He said, wherefore, my brethren, ye also are become dead to the law by the body of the Messiah, that you should be married to another, even to him who was raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto God. So we should bring forth that fruits of righteousness and holiness unto God, because now we're being married to the Master. Now we no longer under the law of sin and death. Now these things no longer have dominion over us, because now we're not a servant of sin and in bondage to it. He said, but when we were in the flesh, the motions of the sin, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. Because the law lets you know that you that you contrary, that you in error, that you in transgression. So he said, when we were in the flesh, because remember what did Paul say in Galatians? Walk in the spirit, you won't fulfill the lust of the flesh. So he said, when we were in that flesh, the workings of sin, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. Because we know when we commit sin, that's the end of the soul, is death. The wages of sin is death. The soul that sin, it shall die. You know what I'm saying? So when we was in the flesh, these things worked in us, which is bringing forth death. So we don't want to deal with that no more. He said, but now we're delivered from the law, that being dead when we were held, that we should serve in the newness of the spirit and not in the oldness of the lust. And what people getting confused is they don't see the spiritual intent and what the man intended in the law. You got a lot of people, they want to deal with the straight letter of what the law says. We got to keep the law. Absolutely. Not saying that you shouldn't. But a lot of times, as you got shown with the fornication thing, brothers don't see the spirit of what the man intended, because he was intending to show forth a clean, holy, righteous, blameless, unreprovable people. You know what I'm saying? A spiritual people where people could not find blame with his people, which therefore his enemy could blaspheme him. That's what they were missing. Listen to what he said. What shall I say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law, for I had not known lust, except the law said, thou shalt not covet. So this is what a lot of Sunday people play with, because they've been taught wrong. And that ain't some of them, that ain't their fault, but that's what they teach in these seminary schools. You know what I'm talking about? The law is not sin. The law gave you the knowledge to know what sin is. But the law couldn't give you life. See, the blood of the Lamb is what gave you life, because he said, I gave you the blood on the altar for life, because the life is in the blood, and I gave you that for the remittance of sins. That's in Leviticus 17:11. That's why he say in Hebrews 9, except there be shed, if there's no shedding of blood, there's no remission of sins. You know what I'm talking about? So the law itself couldn't bring forth life. You know what I'm talking about? It's the blood of the Lamb that brought forth the life. That's why he say, shall not the blood of the Lamb, who offered himself unto God without spot, purge your conscience from dead works. It's about the spirit. When the law is spiritual, he about to tell you that. He say, by sin taken occasion by the commandment wrought in me all manner of conspicuous, For without the law, sin was dead. So when he didn't know the law, he didn't know he was sinning. You know what I'm talking about? But when the commandment came and worked all this stuff into me, I'm convicted. I know I'm wrong. He said, well, I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. Now I know I'm wrong and I'm going to hell. And the commandment which was ordained to life, I found it to be unto death. Because the commandment was supposed to bring life. That if you walk in these ways, you should live. That's why he says it's not a vain thing for you to do these things. But when you contrary to it, and then you see that it say, thou shalt not commit adultery, or thou shalt not lie, or thou shalt not do this here, and you doing it, now you know death has arrived because you've been convicted as a sinner. He said, for sin taken occasion by the commandment deceived me, and by it slew me. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, just and good. Because God's laws is holy, they're just and good. You can't speak nothing against them. He said, what? Was then that which is good made death unto me? God forbid. But sin, that it may appear sin, working death in me, by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. So all it's dealing with is what was made good for me, I'm contrary to it. Now I see I'm wrong and I'm going to have to pay the penalty for it. And what was made good is esteeming and exceedingly sinful because I really don't want to stop doing what I'm doing. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, but the whole key to the matter, you got to deny yourself, which Paul's going to get into. He said, for we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. So we know the law is spiritual, but we flesh. And we sold under sin. And what is that selling under sin? When did that happen? When Adam and Eve disobeyed. You know what I'm talking about? Because what did that sin bring forth to every man? Death. So he says, for that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But that what I hate, that do I. So this is what? The spirit lusteth against the flesh. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. Because that what I don't want to do, I do. That what I do want to do, I don't do. You know what I'm talking about? That's what he's saying. He said, if I then do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. So when I commit sin, I'm consent that this man's law is right. When you walk contrary to that man's word, you showing his laws is right. That's why it makes no sense to tell people they ain't got to keep it. When Paul said here telling you, if you go contrary to it, you're showing it's good. Straight up, because the fruit of your actions show forth, yeah, you need to do what he said. Then you wouldn't get the end results of what you're receiving for disobeying. He said, now then it is no more I that do it, but the sin that dwell in me. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, well, no good thing. For the will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not. So he said, you know, that flesh, ain't nothing good in that flesh. That's why you got to be quickened by the Spirit. That's why the word got to dwell in you. Because that flesh subject to sin at any time if you don't have something to keep it. He said, for the good that I would do, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but the sin that dwell in me. I find then a law. When I would do good, evil is present with me, for I delight in the law of God after the inward man. This is again talking about the word written in your heart, the Holy Ghost, the new covenant. Delighting after the law of God in your heart. He said, thy law is in my heart. I delight to do thy will, O God. This should be inside of you. Because now he's talking about the battle between the spirit and the flesh that's going on. He said, but I see another law of my members, warring against the law of my mind, bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. So he's saying, you know, the sin, your fleshly body want to do stuff that ain't got no business. But the word of God is in his heart, and it's in his mind. And it's battling against each other because his members trying to take me one way, the law saying you better not. This is what he said. But he said he bring those things in the cap. Matter of fact, hold what you got. Go to 2 Corinthians 10th chapter. It's been too far from where we are. We might get to one, we might. 2 Corinthians 10, verse 4, or verse 3. This is what he says. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the Messiah. So this is basically what he's talking about. The flesh is raging, it's warring, but I'm going to bring into captivity every thought to obey this word, to obey my master, to obey my Messiah, to obey my Lord, to obey my King, and sin not. This is what he's talking about, because that's a battle sometimes. Because I know everybody said there's been times where your flesh is like, they said, well, go ahead. But your heart, that inward man telling you, well, you better not. You can't do that. You know what I'm talking about? Who you going to listen to? That's going to got the song, battle in the mind. You know what I'm talking about? It's a war in the mind. over territory, who's going to get the dominion. You know what I'm talking about? Who are you going to allow to have control? The spirit or the flesh? And it says, "O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank God through Yahshua the Messiah our Lord. So then with the mind I myself serve the law of God, but the flesh the law of sin." Because this flesh going to pass away. Flesh can talk all the trash you want, but you know what your mind going to do? You're going to do what God says. You're going to do what God says. All right, man. Where we at now? Where we going to roll to? Let's look at Romans 2 and 6. That's all we're going to do. Romans 2 and 7. We're going to get on from out. Remember what we started in the beginning about being patient, running this race. Listen to what he says. "To them who by patient continuance and well-doing seek for glory, honor, immortality, and eternal life." This is what Paul is saying. Being patient and continually enduring, taking up your cross daily, as the Master told us, and you will cease from sin. But this is what it's about. We got to be patient and be able to deal with these things, because it's going to come hard. Look at Revelation 3 and 10. What he said? He said, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation which shall come upon the world to try them that dwell upon the earth." You see, you got to think about that there. We got to, he said, that the word of his patience. That's what people don't understand, that we got to be patient and endure, and we're going to hear about it some more. Look at Ephesians 4 and 22. You got to keep the word of patience right in your heart, right in your way. You know what I'm saying? And be converted, and be healed, and suffer in the flesh, and deny yourself. Ephesians 4 and 22. "That you put off concerning the former behavior of the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust." Deny yourself. Put that man away. Kill it. "And be renewed in the spirit of your mind. That you put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness." And listen to what he's got to say here now, that you deny yourself, what you're going to put away. "Wherefore put away lying. Speak every man truth with his neighbor. For we are all members one of another." You know that we're part of his body. But you're going to lie to yourself for. "Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. Let him that stole steal no more. But rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may give to him that need. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be ye kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for the Messiah's sake, has forgiven you." So this is all he's saying. When you put these things away, how you not going to be perfect and be free from sin when you deny yourself of these things? Let's look at Matthew 24. He said something about enduring, and there it is. Matthew 24. And after that, we're going to Psalm 119. Matthew 24 and 13. He said, "But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved." He that will endure and hold fast to the end is going to be saved. And what you got to hold fast to? Now we go to Psalm 119 and 33. Let's see what that is. Psalms 119 and 33. He say, "Teach me, O Yah, the way of thy statutes. I shall keep it unto the end." We already heard that. "He that keep my statutes and judge me, he shall live in them." He said, "If you teach me your way, O Yah, your statutes, I'm going to keep it all the way to the end." Where we at now? Go to verse 88. He said, "Quicken me after thy loving kindness, so I shall keep the testimony of thy mouth." Make me alive through thy loving kindness. And where does that loving kindness come from? The blood of the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? That's when the loving kindness of God appeared unto men. And he said, you know what I'm saying? Let that make me alive. And I'm going to keep your testimony alive. I'm going to hold that down to the end. Look at verse 93. He said, "I will never forget thy precepts, for with them thou hast quickened me." He said, "I'll never forget them." And if you ain't never forgetting, that means you're keeping it to the end. Because through them you're made alive. Look at verse 96. He said, I've seen the end of all perfection, but thy commandment is exceeding broad." Look at verse 102. He said, "I have not departed from thy judgment, for thou hast taught me." Remember, this man is your teacher, so you're not going to depart. You're enduring to the end. But all that, we hear that, was just to hear what's in verse 112. I have inclined my heart to perform thy statutes always, even unto the end. And we say even unto the end. Look at Revelation 12 and 11. Now you heard now that we haven't yet to strive against sin to the shedding of blood. We just wanted you to hear this, to keep this in your mind. Revelation 12 and 11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto the death. You got to ask yourself, you got sufficient to pay if you got to do that? All of us ain't going to have to do it, but some of us are. Are you going to be able to deny yourself and fight off that back? And we went there just so you can hear this here. Matthew 10 and 28. Listen to what he say now. Because you got to be willing to endure and suffer. Because the master suffered, and through his suffering he was made perfect and was made the captain of salvation for all those that obey him. Matthew 10 and 28. Listen to what the master say now. Well, first we're going to deal with this here, then we're going to go to the other spot where the master say. He said, then Peter began to say unto him, Lo, we have left all and have followed thee. And Yahshua answered, truly I say unto you, there is no man that hath left house, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or children, or lands for my sake and the gospel, but he shall receive 100-fold now in this time houses, brethren, and sisters, and mothers, and children, and lands with persecution, and in the world to come eternal life. But many are first, and first shall be last, and the first shall be last. And many that are first shall be last, and the last first. So though it seems like those in this world who at the front and you at the back, but when this man get here, it's going to flip. Because if you done gave up all these things, this man said you're going to get all that back in the world to come with everlasting life. So you know what you're enduring to. I was in the wrong place. That's why it didn't look right. Because I was in Mark 10 and 28. But we want to hear, but the master want that read, so it's all what you way. Now Matthew 10 and 28 says this. And it says, and fear not them which kill the body. Because you got to remember that if you deny these things and you keeping that word of patience, he letting you know the reward you're going to get for doing that for the gospel's sake. You know what I'm talking about? But also that knowing that we're going to overcome these people by his blood and the testimony and the words of our mouth, and we're not going to love our life even to the death. As a matter of fact, look at 2 Corinthians 1 and 9. And listen to what he says. He said, but we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God which raised the dead. So you got to have it in your mind. You should not trust yourself, but you should trust he that rose your master from the dead. But Matthew 10 and 28, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both the soul and body in hell. You know what I'm saying? That's what that man say, I have inclined in my heart to keep thy statutes to the end. He said, don't fear him that can kill. Once I shoot you in the head, what I can do to you? If you dead, what I can do to you? If I cut your body up, you can't feel it. If I kick you in the groin after you dead, you can't feel it. But you need to fear him that after he can kill you and then wake you up and kill you again. He's saying, are not two sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your father? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not therefore, for you are more valuable than many sparrows. So don't have no fear what these people going to come to do. Because you're going to live forever. Look at 2 Timothy 2 and 11. Matter of fact, back up about verse 3 first. And now it's one of my favorite verses. And then we go over there. Listen to what he said. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahshua the Messiah. He say, endure hardness. No man that war entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who have chosen him to be a soldier. So you ain't going to be caught up with the cares and affairs of this life. This man that chose you to be a soldier. You're going to do the things that please your master. Drop down to verse 11. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, we shall also live with him. So if we die in the flesh like he died in the flesh and suffer from sin, we'll live with him in the everlasting life as he lives. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we suffer and endure to the end, we'll also reign in his kingdom with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us, because we didn't read it. But this man said, if you deny me before men, I'm going to deny you before my angels, my Father and his holy angels. You know what I'm talking about? And what's the two ways to deny him? Deny with your mouth and deny with your lifestyle. He said, if we believe not, yet he abide faithful, he cannot deny himself. It don't matter if you don't believe in him or not. He ain't going to deny himself. That's pure and utterly insane. Look at Proverbs 4 and 13. Proverbs 4 and 13. What she got going on? She going hard like that. She trying to sell the sentence. She didn't know she the baby in the foot. Ain't even 2 months old trying to talk. He said, somebody give me something. Want something. Hold on, I'll be there in a minute. I'm trying to see. Nevertheless, what's that? Proverbs 4 and 13. Listen to what he says. He said, take fast hold of instruction, let her not go, keep her, for she is thy life. Remember, it's not a vain thing for you, this is your life. Keep the word close to you and take that instruction. This is your life. Enter not into the path of the wicked, go not into the way of evil men. Don't follow after these people, don't go after what they're doing. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, pass away. For they sleep not except they've done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fail. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just is as the shining light that shine more and more into the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness, they know not at what they stumble. My son, attend to my words, incline thy ear unto my sayings. Let them not depart. Let them not depart from thy eyes. Keep them in the midst of thy heart, for they are life unto those that find them, and health to their flesh. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of them are the issues of life. Put away from thee a rebellious mouth and perverse lip, put far from thee. Let thy eyes look right on, and let thy eyelids look straight before thee. And we're going to deal with that when we enter that. The man said, let your eyes be straight. Narrow path, straight gate, straight up and down. Listen to what he say now. Ponder the path of thy feet, that all thy ways be established. Sit and think on the way you're going. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left hand. Keep thy foot from evil. Now where are we going to go now? Look at Psalms 141 and 4. Psalms 141 and 4. So this man talking about these evil people. Listen to what he said. Incline not my heart to any evil thing, to practice wicked works with the men that work iniquity. Let me not eat of their dainties. He said, don't let me eat of the things of the food that they got. Don't let your heart be inclined to any wicked thing, which means what? You got to kill that flesh with the word. Look at Proverbs 23 and 17. What he say? He said, let not thy heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of Yah all the day long. For surely there is an end, and thy expectations shall be cut off. He said, don't be envying the sinners and what they got, because they ain't going to get nothing at the end of the day. You keep running the race with patience to receive that incorruptible crown and everlasting life. Don't get caught up in that. Look at Psalm 37 and 1. This is just to let you hear these things of why you denying yourself, to knowing that don't get caught up in what other people got going on. Because God could be setting them up for a whole nother thing. Don't get caught up in that. He said, fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in Yah and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land. Truly thou shalt be fed. So he said, don't envy after these people. They're going to be cut down, burnt up. He said, trust Yah, do what's right, and you're going to dwell in the land. And he'll feed you in the land with all manner of things that these people could never, ever consider to receive. Delight thyself also in Yah, he shall give you the desires of thy heart. Commit thy way unto Yah. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in Yah, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prosper in his way, because of the man who bring wicked devices to pass. He said, don't sit there and want to go sin because these people doing these things. He said, just rest in Yah and be patient, because at the end of the day, you're going to get your reward. He said, cease from anger, forsake wrath, fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Ain't that what Paul just said in Ephesians? He said, be angry, but sin not, let not the sun go down on your wrath. Abstain from evil and all these things. He said, for evildoers shall be cut off. Those that wait upon Yah shall inherit the earth. Look at verse 27, or verse 11. He said, but the meek shall inherit the earth, also shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. And then verse 27 says, depart from evil and do good and dwell forevermore. So what is this telling you? He said in Job 28 and 28, the fear of Yah is wisdom, and depart from evil is understanding. So to deny yourself from evil is understanding. He said in Romans 16, he said, I would rather you be simple as concerning evil and the wise to that which is good. You know what I'm saying? So those things that's evil, be stupid. Oh, remember about that? Oh, remember about that? But when it's coming to doing right, have wisdom and execute that. Look at Ecclesiastes 8 and 12. Because this ain't really what we need to be taught. They're not really telling us these things that we can deliver our souls from death. A lot of this stuff I wish had been told to me and my youth. It had kept me from a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? The Word of God and He got an answer for any situation in life that you can come across. Verse 12, he said, though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God with fear before Him. Just because these people look like they getting on, keep denying yourself. It's going to be well with you. You got an everlasting reward. They just got a temporary. Matter of fact, look at Proverbs 24 and 1, and then look at Colossians 3 and 1. After that, Proverbs 24 and 1. He said, be not thou envious against evil men, neither desire to be with them. For their hearts study destruction, and their lips talk of mischief. This is why you have to deny yourself and separate yourself from these things, because when you entertain them things, then you can get trapped up. As you just read in Proverbs 4, he said, don't deal with them people. That's why the word is to give you discretion, to keep you in the way, to keep you out of them things. Look at Colossians 3 and 1. This is what the man said. He said, if you then be risen with the Messiah, seek those things which are above, where the Messiah sit on the right hand of God. He said, if you risen from the dead to the Messiah, you done killed, crucified that old man, and you dead to sin, risen to life in a newness of way, and righteousness and holiness after the image of He that created Him, then everything that you desire should be in the heavens. Hold what you got. Go to Matthew 6 and 24. Matthew 6 and 24 says, no man can serve two masters. Well, I really want verse 19. I'm sorry. He said, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So if your mind is on earthly things, then that's where your heart going to be. If your mind is on heavenly things, then that's where your heart going to be. That's why that man said, if you risen from the dead with the Messiah, then set your things on things in heaven. Then set your mind on things that are eternal. He said, set your affections on things above, not on things on the earth. For you are dead, and your life is hid with the Messiah. When the Messiah, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with Him in glory. Mortify, which means kill. So now we're talking about this here, the suffering of the flesh. He said, mortify your members, which are upon the earth: fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil conspicuous, and covetousness, which is idolatry, for which things the wrath of God come on the children of disobedience, and which you also walked sometime when ye lived in them. He said, now you also walk at some time and they would kill these things and put them away. Listen to what he said, but now also put off these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds, seeing that you have killed this man, and with his works, put that away. And put on the new man, which is renewed in the knowledge after the image of Him that created it. Verse 12, and put therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, vows of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, forgiving one another. And if any man have a quarrel against another, even as the Messiah forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things put on love, which is the bond of perfection. So when we do all these things, this is what's make up perfect. As the master says, you already know, y'all have heard it numerous times. Don't let nobody tell you can't attain it, because they lying. You know what I'm talking about? The book is telling you to do this. And how do you attain perfection? By taking up your cross and denying yourself and suffering. Look at Romans 8 and 1. He He says, there is therefore no condemnation to them which are in the Messiah Yahshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So God ain't going to condemn you if you're walking after the Master. If you dwell in Him and He dwell in you, and you live by Him as the Master lived by the Father. There's no condemnation in you. For the law of the Spirit of life in the Messiah Yahshua has made me free from the law of sin and death. So when we're quickened by the Word and dwelling in the Word, now we're free. Because like I said, the law is sin and death. You commit sin, the law say you die. He said, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending His own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh. So when the law, which couldn't purge our conscience from dead work, because if not, we wouldn't have to be sacrificing bulls and goats, knowing that bulls and goats could not cleanse a man that proceeds from sin. He sent His Son in the same sinful flesh. He overcame it to condemn the flesh, so that therefore we could do the same thing and cease from sin. He said that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So then, now when we walk after the Holy Ghost, after the Spirit, now you can see the rightness of the law and what was intended from the foundation of the world. He said, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, and they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. This is what the Master meant when He told Nicodemus, them that are of the flesh are the flesh, they that are of the Spirit are the Spirit. If you in the flesh doing fleshly things, then you worry about those things and the things of the world. But those that walk in the Spirit and those that walk in the Word of God, they concerned with the things that's on above. Those that are in the flesh, they concerned with the things that are on this earth. Those that's in the Spirit concerned with things that are eternal. Those that are in the flesh concerned with things that are temporary. He said, for to be carnally minded is death. So to have a fleshly mind is to die, which is that second death. But to be spiritually minded is life and peace, which is to live everlasting. He said, because the carnal mind is in enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So if you got a carnal mind, that's what he said, that what? The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. A carnal mind cannot come under the discipline and subjection of the law of God. They warn against each other. It can't happen. So what does that mean? You got to kill it. So he says, so then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. So if you're in the flesh, you cannot please the Father, period. He said, but you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. If so be that the Spirit of God dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of the Messiah, he is none of his. Now, you say, now you dead to the flesh of the Spirit of the Messiah in you. But if you don't have the Spirit of the Messiah, then you're not of his flock. And if you're not of his flock, you ain't getting in his kingdom. He said, if the Messiah be in you, the body is dead because of sin. So if the Word of God dwell in you, then your mortal body is dead and you no longer commit sin. He said, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Yahshua from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up the Messiah from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwell in you. So if that Spirit is in you, he going to raise you from the dead because that Spirit dwells in you. That's why he said if you ain't got the Spirit of the Messiah, you done it here. Because if you ain't got the Holy Ghost, you ain't coming out the grave. He said, therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh to live after the flesh. For if you live after the flesh, ye shall die. And we done dealt with the works of the flesh. And you do those things, you're going to die. But if you through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, you shall live. So if you through the Word of God kill the deeds of the body, you're going to live. Stab it, kill it, put it away. For as many are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. You can't say you led by this man's spirit and you commit sin, because now we already heard what Paul said. If I commit sin, is the Messiah the minister of sin? God forbid. So if you led by the Spirit, you're going to be a son, which means you're going to be equal with the Son, which means you're going to be equal with God. All of us in the same family doing the same thing, standing on the same principles, which is the righteousness and holiness of the Father's Word. Simple and plain. 1 John 3:1. We'll talk to you quick, get it on over with. He said, behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God, though for the world know us not, because it knew him not. So that's what it's talking about. They're not going to know you're a child of God, a true child of the living God. Yah hosts is his name, through Yahshua. They're not going to know that, because they didn't know him. He said, oh, Holy Father, the world has not known thee. He told the Jews back then, he said, you have not known him. He said, I know him. If I say I know him not, I'll be a liar like unto you. And he said, he that know him, keep his commandments. He that saith he know him and keep not his commandments is a liar. So this is how we know that we know God. This is what he said in verse 3. He said, every man that have this hope in him purify himself even as he is pure. Whosoever commit sin transgress also the law, For sin is transgression of the law. And you know that he was manifested to take away our sin, and in him is no sin. So we already know this man was manifested to take away sin. So if he dwell in us and we dwell in him, it ain't no sin. This is what he said in verse 6. Whosoever abide in him sin not, whoever sin have not seen him, neither know him. So if you abide in him, you're not sinning. He said if you commit sin, you don't know him and you never seen him. That's heavy. These people not going to tell us that. Because that's going to cut a lot of people to the heart and make them look at it, oh, my life ain't right. You see what I'm saying? Look at verse 9. Whosoever is born of God do not commit sin, for a seed remain in him, and he cannot sin because he's born of God. So this is the point that we got to get to be born of God. Look at 5 and 18 of this very same epistle. 1 John 5 and 18 of this very same epistle. And he's just going to read it to you, let me tell you it again. We know that whosoever is born of God sin not, but he that is begotten of God keep himself from the wicked one touching not. Then he said, resist the devil and he'll flee from you. Ain't that what he said? So if you dwell in the God, the wicked one can't touch you, you born of God. How he gonna touch you and you free from the things that the wicked one desires? Now let's see this in the law, in Psalms 119 verse 1. Let's read it out the law. Let's read it out the law. Just so you can see, this ain't no New Testament thing these boys are talking. These boys they got this rooted out of something. Excuse me. Blessed are the undefiled in the way. We know to be undefiled is to be clean. Didn't he say put away all manner of uncleanness? Who walk in the law of God. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies, that seek him with the whole heart. They also do no iniquity. They walk in his ways. So if you walking in his ways, ain't that being born of the word? Because that's what the seed is that remaining in you. It's the word of God. So when the law of God is in your heart and you live by it, as the master lived by it, and he lived by the Father, you born of God, you sin not. Wicked one can't touch it. You're going to suffer in the flesh, and you're going to deny yourself from participating in wicked work. Look at 2 Peter 1 and 3. 2 Peter 1 and 3. Because this is what we're trying to get to. This is why he manifested this man. This is why he sent this man. This is why we have these hopes and these promises. We continue on in this fashion. 2 Peter 1 and 3 says, according to as his divine power has given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness. So by the divine power of the Most High God, through Yahshua, he done gave us this power of things that pertain unto life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that have called us unto glory and virtue. So through the knowledge of Yahshua, this is called us to glory and virtue, so we can do this. Whereby we are giving unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these you might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. So through denying yourself, through this knowledge of how to deny yourself and to walk in the word, and the word walk in you, now you can escape the pollution, the uncleanness, the defiling of the world, which is through lust. And this is how the world attacks. That's why anything, they sell birds, they sell it with a half-naked woman. Cars, they sell it with a half-naked woman. To appeal to the woman, they got a man who's supposed to be muscle and rip with no shirt on. Or they apply to the things that you desire, whether it be y'all pride or want to be equal with a man, or your lust or want to have money. And we know women like to shop, so they'll do certain things to show you for shoes, clothing, whatever it may be. Whatever, Satan, they sit back and they study people to learn your lust and how to attack you. You know what I'm saying? And then they put that out there. So the whole world's corrupt, it's filled with lust to bring you down so that you can't attain to the divine nature. And this is what the Word of God is teaching us not to do. Now, what is one of the main things of lust that's going to get most people in trouble? The thing that's in between their legs. Let's look at 1 Corinthians 6 and 9, and let's read about that. Because that's just tailoring into when we get ready to deal with marriage. Which will probably be soon. Because we might end up on more than one time in a week. It all depends on how you work it out. Verse by 9. So we're going to start that verse. He said, know you not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. So man, you ain't getting in. Then he said, as such were some of you, but ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of Lord Yahshua, and by the Spirit of our God. So by killing yourself, as we done heard, and that Spirit make you alive, now you've been washed by the Word. Now you've been set apart by the Word. So now you can enter in, because not everybody done committed every sin that's listed, but many of us have committed at least one. You know what I'm talking about? So he say, so you used to do these things, but now you suffer in the flesh and you cease from these things, and now you justified by the everlasting Spirit of our God and by the blood of the Lamb. I said, drop down about verse 18. Well, really, we got to set it up. Verse 13. Meats for the belly and belly for the meats, but God shall destroy both it and them. Now, the body is not for fornication, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. So he's telling you, your body is not for you to do what you want to with. Your body is for the Lord. So why he say, do what? Present your body as a what? Living sacrifice. Deny yourself. Because that's what sacrifice means. That means giving up something for a greater good. You know what I'm talking about? Which is most people don't want to do, which is to sacrifice things. But if you want eternal life, you won't have to sacrifice something. Verse 18. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man do is without the body, but he that commit fornication sin against his own body. So we say any sin a man commit, that's outside the body. But when you go to dealing with sexual sins, you sin against your own body. Fornication mainly dealing with people that are not married. He said, what? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which you have of God, and you're not your own, for you are bought with a price. Therefore glorify your body and in your spirit, which are God. So he's sitting here telling you, that's not yours. That's God's. Conduct and carry yourself accordingly. You know what I'm talking about? Go to 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, the 1st verse. So he's telling you, deny yourself. Now in the very next chapter, he said to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. He said this is what to do if you want to avoid that. First Thessalonians 4:1. Furthermore, then we beseech you, brethren, and exhort you by the Lord Yahshua, that as you have received of us how you ought to walk and to please God, so would you abound more and more. So he's letting you know if you want how you're supposed to walk and please the Most High, so you can abound in the fruits and abound in the way and abound in salvation. For you know what commandments we gave you by the Lord Yahshua. For this is the will of God. He said it's the will of God, even your sanctification, that you abstain from fornication. So this man say, deny yourself from this. That every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and in honor. So he said you should know how to hold your body in honor and holiness and being set apart. This is what he said. Not as a lust of conspicuous, even as the Gentiles which know not God. Now we look at the other races, and it is what it is. You see them people loose. You know what I'm talking about? Them people conduct all manner of sexual perversions. And our people commit them too. But a lot of them we learn from these people, from watching them, and they done told us it's acceptable, and we want to mimic these people. You know what I'm talking about? But we can't do what they're doing if we're going to be a peculiar treasure under God, zealous unto good work. Then in verse 7, he says, for God has not called us unto uncleanliness, but unto holiness. He has not called us unto these things. We cannot participate in none of these things and then turn around and say, we're children of the Most High. Can't do it. Now where are we rolling to now? Look at Ecclesiastes 11 and 9, because most of y'all ain't here young, so y'all got to hear what this says. I don't know that type of God. Mama, you ain't there? So I don't want it. Alright. He said, rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thy heart and in the sight of thy eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. So he said, go ahead and rejoice in your youth, but just know everything you're doing now, walking after your heart. And he said, he that's trusted in his heart is a fool. He said, and walking in the lust of your eyes, just know God won't bring you into judgment. Listen to what he said. So therefore remove sorrow from thy heart and put away evil from thy flesh. For childhood and youth are vanity. You heard what he said? Put evil away from your flesh. Depart from evil and do good. So this is why Paul told you this in 2 Timothy 2 and 22. That's why he told you this here. Flee also youthful lust. Flee them. Put evil away from thy flesh. You heard what he said? Walk in the heart. Because you know you're young. You want to design everything. You want to go do this here. You want to go do that there. But once you get to a certain age, so like I said, most of y'all young. But I know dudes my age and older still chasing after youthful lust. You know what I'm saying? It get to a certain time when you reach a certain age, well, you shouldn't be chasing after that no more. But he say, but what? Follow righteousness, faith, love, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Because if you follow after that, you suffer in the flesh. You denying yourself. You ain't dealing in no sin. Look at Proverbs 2 and 10. Proverbs 2 and 10. Listen to what he said. He said, when wisdom enters into thy heart and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee. So now you got something that's going to keep you. Discretion, understanding. When the word of God, because that's Yahshua who's been made unto us wisdom, dwells in you. To deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaks rebellious things. See, now you can deny these people, you can separate yourself from them, they can't touch you. Who leave the path of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice to do evil and delight in the rebelliousness of the wicked, whose ways are crooked, and they are rebellious in their paths. So this is what you have to look at, because we say rebelliousness is as the sin of witchcraft. To be rebellious as to be a witch, and to be a witch is a sin worthy of death. You know what I'm talking about? So we have to consider that. But that's why we got the word in this. So say, now I know why I'm denying myself. So when these people come through talking stupid, I ain't going to fall for it. Look at Luke 11 and 17. Because when you don't have this wisdom and discretion in you, as we mentioned earlier, you get cast off, and this is where the double-mindedness comes into play. He say, but he knowing their thoughts said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house fails. So he said, when a house, something is divided against one another, how can it stand? So we have to sit there and realize this in the spirit, in the flesh. We have to choose, because when they divide and they going against one another, you're going to bring about your destruction. Look at James 1 and about verse 5. We're not to work. We roll straight on up. James 1 and 5. He said, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that give to all men liberally and upbraid not, and it shall be given to him. As you just heard, when wisdom dwells in our soul and is pleasant to you, he said, if you lack it, ask God, he'll give it to you. He said, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavers like a wave of sea driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think he shall receive of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So he said, if you double-minded, you unstable. Because you don't know what you want to do. You know what I'm talking about? You want to be righteous one day, you want to be a sinner the next day. You know what I'm talking about? You got to be consistent. Either you're going to be a saint or you're going to be a sinner. You ain't going to be in between. Look at verse 12. Again, dealing with this in denying yourself. Once you ain't double-minded and you strong, then this comes to pass. Blessed is the man that endures temptation. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say he is tempted. I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempt he any man. But every man, when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So, when that's what you was lusting after, that's what you was desiring. That's why you got to kill yourself with the word and let the spirit dwell in you and mortify the deeds of the body, and you won't fulfill the lust of the flesh. He said, then when lust hath conceived, it bring forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bring forth death. So when that desire is birthed, it's going to bring